You know, it's like the automated voice of China speaking to us. Anyway, so the stained glass windows are architectural. A lot of them came from the Victorian era. A lot of the designs were, you know, maybe like a century and a half or so old. But it is like obviously an older tradition, but this book is mostly Victorian era American stained glass windows, like so arts and crafts movement. If you look up arts and crafts movement, it was a really beautiful, you know, kind of art genre that was really heavily based on architecture um, and you know, these materials of the new world. You know, America had like so many trees. If you think about Europe, people have been living in Europe for so long that you know, most of the trees have been consumed. But the U.S. is such a vast land and you know, relatively young. So, you know, big trees out west really made for an incredible, you know, kind of like architectural marvel, you know, movements in architecture and in design that couldn't have happened really anywhere else. Anyway, the way that these pictures are put together are through cut glass and through lead. So they actually use all the lines that we're about to put down are all you know, pieces of lead wire, and they're, you know, you basically you make a cartoon, and these are what you call cartoons. So the cartoon is used a lot of different ways. They used it for frescoes in the Renaissance, and they use it for you know, they use it for they make the drawing the exact size of the window, so then they line the edge of the where the metal is going to go, and then they cut the glass to fit the metal. And I mean, the large scale drawings of stained glass windows are awesome to see because they're the exact size. From like a church window, could be like 20 feet long to, you know, like a, you know, above a doorway in a regular, you know, in a regular Victorian home. Baltimore has a in Hamden, there's a guy that does stained glass windows, and there's another shop somewhere else in town that does stained glass windows. Anyway, I've never made one. I would like to, but even still, I'm more interested in the drawing and the design of it and the craft of it. Cool, but I don't know. You can make way more stained glass window designs in your life than you could make actual stained glass windows. So I thought it'd be fun. This is what the paper that I have here is watercolor paper. So if you have your watercolors, I mean, I think I'm gonna sketch it in pencil, go over it in pen, and then, you know, paint it. And I'm gonna paint it kind of quickly. So let's do the drawing scenario. And if you had colored pencils, those are gonna be awesome too. I have my colored pencils because let me show you this one thing. I watched a YouTube video. There's a guy from Boston that made these windows, and just because the each pane, like each separate pane of glass, is subdivided and a separate piece of glass from the other ones, you can still have color variations inside the plane, inside the pane, I should say. So this is this one window that this guy did, and I didn't intentionally choose something that was like it, but it's pretty darn close. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. It's pretty close. Anyway, so I'm gonna hold this up here. I'll zoom out and then I'll zoom in. Look at the like the red foliage up here. You know, there's like lights and darks, and then the brown. There's like golden into like an orange. Most of it's solid, like this lighter yellow is solid, the blue is solid, the purple is solid, the golden is solid. So you can have like a consistent color, but then you can also imagine that you are in fact, you know, coloring it to look like painted glass, and the translucency of glass, like the light shining, through the glass, and you perceiving it from the opposite side, it's backlit, and it's beautiful. And when you think about watercolors, they are in fact backlit in a way because it's transparent pigment. So The light passes through the paint, hits the paper, and then bounces back through the pigment into your eye. So in a way, every watercolor is sort of like a stained glass window. It's not direct light. It's light reflected off of the white of the paper. So that watercolor is like a very logical medium, as well as markers, as well as color pencils. All markers, color pencils, watercolor, all they have in common is that there is paper underneath that's showing through, that's providing light. So, and I love the fact that these have like really clear, well-defined edges. There's almost no line weight to worry about. So if you're like really consistent with your line, I just learned this because I taught it on Wednesday, but the outside line, the structure is like the only part of the picture that has heavier lead. So it's like a thicker, more structural lead on the outer circle. So like every other line is the same level of line. It's not, you don't have to worry about going light to dark, light to dark, light to dark. It's very like flat and geometric in that way. So I do love that. Okay, so I developed a little bit of a strategy on how to do this board in particular. And if you all have moved ahead, I'm, support you completely. But obviously I'm going to start from the center, which is this circle. And then instead of doing the 4 component parts, I'm going to draw a circle around this circle. And I'm trying to maintain equal separation between the inner circle and the next ring of the circle. Now, there's a lot of symmetry with these pictures. And, so I'm going to go at a 45-degree angle, and I'm going to see that it comes out the other side. So I'm basically dividing this one in half with these 2 lines, and then I'm going to go half in the other direction. And then each one of those divisions on the second, loop, they almost form like a stem to this teardrop. And it could be a grape. It could be a teardrop. It could be a petal. I'm just trying to use that 45-degree angle to get a teardrop, and I'm trying to make all of them roughly the same size. And this is where things are going to get a little wild. So the 12 o'clock position, I'm going to do a vertical for 12 o'clock. And in a way, you can almost anticipate where it splits. So if you go down to 6 o'clock, you run the vertical down. The key is that half of it, the top half and the bottom half are exactly the same length from the center. And I think you want to do that for 4 o'clock. I think it's 4 o'clock. No, it's 3 o'clock, sorry. 3 o'clock, and then 9 o'clock on this side. And the distance from the outer ring, the second ring, to where it splits, they should be roughly the same size, if not exactly the same size. Okay, so now I needed to do that because I needed to get everything in relationship to our cardinal directions, north, south, east, west, and then, where the teardrops are. Now, this one is where you can have like maybe a little bit of wiggle room, but I think I'm going to do the leaf. And when I say that I'm going to do the leaf, I'm just going to do this one top right-hand quadrant. There's a petal that S-curves. It's an S-curve petal around the teardrop.
Oh, that looks a little like a flame. That's so cool.
I like that. I like the flame idea. And then there's like 2, like, I wouldn't say they're 2 rays. There's almost like one spurt on the right and then one spurt on the left coming out of that teardrop. So that's what's happening on the inside of the teardrop. Now, the beauty of doing it this way and I could be wrong, but this is my strategy. Because each quadrant is exactly the same, which is really nice. Not all of them have the symmetry. So the top right, bottom left, top left, they all have the same stuff. So I'm kind of wanting to realize, one direction. I'm right-handed, so going up and to the right is kind of a logical place for me. So the leaf, the petal that I was making that S-curved into this tip, that then goes into a larger, you could call it a reverse teardrop shape, or a teardrop shape, or I was thinking that it might be an almond. I like the idea of an almond. And that almond is going to be basically the height. That's where there's the circle itself. There's an inner circle on the frame, and there's an outer circle on the frame. So the outer circle, that almond shoots a little security, a structure bar, and then you get the outside frame. I'm drawing mine a lot smaller for obvious reasons. I'm trying to fit it onto the screen. And we don't have a whole lot more to go. So in order to do the whole top half, we've got to go up to the top left. Man, this is complicated. It's not that complicated though.
It's complicated.
Are you drowning yet, Stace?
I'm looking at the center circle as my life preserver.
Oh, and it's the shape of a life preserver.
Yep.
That makes me so happy to hear.
Yep, it's helping.
Okay, so if we go back to our original life preserver, let's go back to the original circle. We can shore ourselves up here with this inner circle. Then we get the secondary outer circle. And then, on the right side, we built the teardrop. And then on the left side, we built the teardrop. On the right side, we built the leaf around it. And then on the left side, I'm going to build the leaf around that. And then I'm going to build an almond. And I'm really hoping that my almond is about the same size on the left as it is on the right. Ooh, feels a little small.
You know what the leaf?
That's my
circle.
Yeah, I know that's going to be my inner rim, and then that almond shoots out a little structure beam, and I'm going to get the outer rim.
Yes, Braden. What does it remind you of?
It reminds me of if you go to the jewelry store
Mm-hmm.
and you see like the necklaces on the stands.
Yes. Yes. I like necklaces on any stand. Yeah, I like that analogy.
Is that what it is? What do you? Dude, I'm going to the jewelry store today. What are you guys talking about?
You are?
Yeah.
Fun.
Well, this weekend, my sister's birthday was on the 25th.
Mhm.
My mom's birthday, my mom's birthday was on the 25th of May. My sister's was on the 23rd. So we're all going out to dinner on Saturday. So
Nice.
I have to have presents for everybody.
Liberatories.
No, we're going to, I think we're going to like a fish and chips.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Something like that. Oh man.
Oh man, it's right.
All right, I'm going to do the stuff that I know about. All right, so we're going to do the ray that's coming out to the right inside the petal, ray coming out to the left on the other side of the petal. Not the right size, but I think it's going to be close enough. Oh, okay, this is cool. So remember we did the original split? That original split S curves into the almond. That's helpful. Oh, thank God. Okay, so then each split is going to S curve into the almond. I think it's going to be the same on the left side. And then the same on the right, S curve into the almond. Now, that S curve into the almond is divided into half on both ends. This one's so much better. My left side's so much better than my right side. And then out of that split, let's go to the top. There should be a, what do you think that shape is called? It's so hard. Oh, that's not so bad. No, it is that bad.
Yeah, I'm so glad you acknowledged that.
You guys, check this out. Let me grab my pencils. I think the only way to understand this is that for me to color it right now. Look at this one. So remember I did this part right here. This is a split. This is a split. That split comes up across. That's amazing. I thought I picked an easy one.
You thought this was an easy one?
I
that what
swear
you-
to God, I did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to use my pink teardrop. I like that it's a berry. So I got to try and do that now.
Wait, so it looks like what you said was connected, but it also looks like the part touching it on the right side of it.
So there's like two parts. So you're saying this thing is part of it too?
It looks like it to me.
I think it
looks
is.
like one of those. It reminds me of like a lily or something, like a daylily,
Yeah,
where it like splits off into two sections.
totally. Or like even like a tulip. You know, like a tulip leaf?
Or even grass. I've seen like thick
Yes.
chewy
Yes.
grass do
Grass
that.
does that. So it has like the same center stem, but then like the petals fall off on either side. Okay, you're right. All right, so let me try that. So we got this side from our original hot pink. It's gonna S curve up into the almond. I feel like the almond should be brown since it's almond. It's got an almond with the skin on it.
Oh,
Was that helpful?
I'm nowhere near there. But I'm making every attempt to get there.
Well, the other funky thing about this too is that there's nothing that really makes this there's nothing that like you can, it's so abstract. It's like strangely abstract. You know, I'm saying almond, but like it's not really an almond. All right, so this original grape on this side, little berry on that side, it's gonna shoot up, S curve into this tip, S curve back down, and then it shark fins into the other side. I guess I'll color the almond. My hot pink. And so there's the red orange that comes up here. So much for watercolor. Too hard. Maybe I make this blue. And this can be blue. Gonna make these yellow. These will be yellow. Stacy, you should have told me that this was gonna be too hard.
You know, I should have. And
No,
next
just kidding.
time I will.
No, I am just kidding. The only reason I'm just kidding is because the last one I thought was gonna be too hard, and the kids that were like, you know, younger than this group crushed it. So mine is going to become less of a circle and more of an oval. Got a circle up here, got a circle up here. That's beautiful. Thank God for the circles. Every time I see a circle, I want to make it red. Does anybody know why? Because I don't.
Oh, that's interesting. No?
Like every time I see an octagon, oops, that's not the right color. The other hope that does exist with these silhouette lines is that when you do it the first time, I'm going to shore up all of my lines. So I've got my semicircle, I've got my S curve up here. The truth is that it might have been hard to figure it out the first time from this angle. When you draw the same thing on the side view, you know, it should, in theory, be easier.
Should.
Beautiful S curve.
So, is anyone else wondering if they're going to make it through this class? Tell me I'm not alone.
You're not alone.
All right, because Julia, I was kind of
Thank
banking
you, Julia.
on you. I was banking on you to like make it all look, because you usually make it all look so easy.
Right.
I can't do symmetry. It's my
Interesting.
Same. I'm such a perfectionist. I have to get it perfect the first time, and with symmetry, you just can't do that.
Yes.
Yeah, that is not physically possible. I'm not like
Well, I also think it's a really
what's that, Stace?
no, I was just going to say, not making it perfect, especially on the first round, is a great lesson. It has been for me, you know, that it's okay to make mistakes, and that what I perceive as mistakes can often turn around and be, what's the word I want, Trevor?
Well, I mean, the way I don't care about making things perfect. I just want to understand the system. So like whenever I come up with it's almost like a formula. So like what I did here, we had this like I did like the top portion and it like doesn't look good. But I mean if you think about it, it's actually not that bad. Maybe I'll make this I could just like review the part that we've already done. We've got, you know, I've got the yellow stems, I've got the blue blossom, I've got the red frames, I got this green.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I can continue the yellow, which I know how to do. What I'm trying to do is now is like I'm going to do the parts that I thought were kind of easy, or at least were like helpful to get the system. So like
Yeah.
I've got this petal like that or the flame, you know, that you were saying, Stace, that goes around the original of the original of the four berries.
Mhm.
So I've got that, and then I can add a almond to that. And this is the problem. It's like, what did I do wrong the first time? Because obviously my system, I was doing something off. because this is like an oval and not a circle. So I'm just like, I'm pushing my theory, as far as I can go.
Right.
They've got the split on this side, which frames it off. I got the split on this side, which frames it. Split on this one, frames it. Split on this one, frames it. Cool. Okay, so maybe since I found the tip of my olive,
Mm-hmm.
or my almond, I should say, maybe I'm going to start with that one first. Link up all of the almond tips. It's got that structure, that's got that structure. Maybe it's a matter of seeing the whole.
Oh, I had difficulty with that. Seeing it as a whole, as opposed to breaking it down like you've been doing. Oh,
I like this. Frankly, I like this. And I'll explain why. Because now I've kind of committed to define space. So I've got an oval. I've got the outer rim, I've got the inner rim, and I can't really change it. So what do I have to include in there? Well, I have to get my blue bud. Got my blue bud. Blue bud. I'm going to actually color it.
um,
The beauty of the blue bud, though, is that that center line goes all the way to the end. So in every situation where you have your that little blue petal, the line that shoots out of that goes all the way to the edge. So by having it's anchored because I've got the outer rim. And honestly, I have all of the yellow. That's amazing too. I hadn't realized that. Blue bud, blue bud. Bud, blue
I
bud.
think that what you did, Trevor, as far as getting in there with color really helps to not get lost.
Yeah. I mean, totally.
Yeah. Now, I didn't do that, but it seems to really
I mean,
be an
honestly,
answer.
I put in these colors as it was like a fail-safe.
Yeah.
I was like, this is me calling 911.
Got it.
Almond, 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 almond. Nice. What I'm doing differently upstairs, what I'm doing differently downstairs and upstairs, has to do with the fact that what's being sprouted from our original hot pink berries that hit that frame is that line is cohesive all the way up to the middle of the the flare that's above the blueberry. So let me show you what I mean. So I've got this sprout that comes up from the hot pink berry and S curves into the tip of the blueberry.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes up and S curves into the intersection of that flare. Then I've got my shark fin. And we might as well do the other side of that first. So then we get the next berry, shoots out of our hot pink berry, S curves up to the intersection. Another S curve, then we get the shark fin.
I made a mistake. I'm just now realizing what it is.
Now, is it a mistake that you can live with and just carry on into the other components? Or no?
Yes, I erased it because I'm using pencil. So
Sweet.
I fixed that. Anyways, I just wanted to say I'm very behind because I was putting too much
Yes.
into the symmetry. Anyways, so the yellow part where it branches out
Yes.
into the almond, I was looking at it as a separate shape, but what I really think it is I think that the necklace stand or leaf or whatever you wanted to call it
Mm-hmm.
is a bud, and the yellow part is the petal around a flower or a leaf that the bud is resting on or
Oh,
something like that.
bud.
Or one
That's funny. I thought you said
part
bug.
that has unfurled or something like that.
So
Mhm.
in my drawing, like in the drawing of which is the bud part, the blue part,
No,
or this whole part?
yeah, that part.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like a rosebud almost. Not
Yeah.
quite.
It's same here. I was actually like this. Are you talking about this green part?
Yeah, but where I made my mistake was I was thinking it of the yellow part as a separate shape, and not connecting the dots and realizing that the inner wall was actually part of the bud or whatever it's called.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, like the inner wall. This inner wall of the yellow is actually the outer wall of the bud.
So I started to draw it as if it was a separate thing. And then I got like halfway through and I was like, wait a second, that's not right.
So you figured that out. That's great. I haven't gotten there. I mean, I'm recognizing that mine is just not, I'm doing the best I can. And you know what? That's all I can do.
So what I should be doing, just for demonstration purposes, I should be sketching. Oh my gosh, look at that. Amazing. Okay, cool. So I made this the bud green with those red stripes. Make this one green.
Trevor, can you please look for me in jail? I'm going to sign back. I have to sign out and back in on my phone.
Okay, yeah,
Thank you.
I'll find you.
Thank you.
I mean, my yellow, it's a really pretty color. What is it called? This is called lemon yellow. That is not lemon yellow. It's better than lemon yellow. Lemon yellow in my for my paint is like way more tinted. I guess that's the other thing too, is like if you get one answer anywhere in the picture, it can be repeated. Mhm. The shark fin is definitely a reliable one. And the shark fin does not have the circle. So there's these two red the two red branches. And the shark fin shape is not the one that receives the berry. When I say berry, I mean the circle on the outer rim. Well, team, I hope you all decide to come back after this class. I had no idea it was going to be this hard. I think the second one that I have picked might actually be like significantly easier because you can actually it's an actual object. You're just drawing like ambiguous petals. It's really hard.
Like you said, you'd like to use the formulas. Like with animals, there's basics that you can follow, basic guidelines and all that.
Yeah, and like that's the thing. Like I like to find the system, and clearly I haven't figured this one out. And I'm wondering if maybe the idea is to start with. We started from the center and we expanded out, and I'm wondering if it would have been better to start with like the geometric circle, like the space, like because if you think about architecturally, you're given a window. The window is an exact size, so you can't make the window any bigger or any smaller. Like that's the window. So you're starting with proportions already, and starting with the middle and attempting to draw it from the inside out may not be the best solution for this type of problem. And I wonder if because you have to start from the frame or you have to start from the prescribed ratio of the opening, that like starting from the outside in is actually the more logical approach rather than the inside out. Yeah. And if you follow the creative process, which is what I'm trying, to teach, is like solutions on how to, make your own art. I acknowledge that this is not, we're not making our own art here. We're learning the techniques and the strategies of people that were, very good, so that we can then create our own original stuff. So following the process and the system of creating is in my opinion, really what's paramount. I mean, that's what I teach. I mean, there's the subtlety and the decisions and the reasons and the content. All of those things are so personal. Like the reasons to ultimately make art are so personal that like they can't really be taught, and like, you have to have lived, you have to have like, if you want to make an art piece about victory, you have to have won something. If you want to like make an art piece about love, you have to have been in love. Like, and when you're at an age where you're like kind of developing skill sets, for future expressions, that's like that's what I'm trying to teach. I'm trying to get you to have strategies on how to solve problems when you actually have a problem to solve, which is, how am I going to draw a portrait of my, my deceased dog? I mean, that's a real thing. And hopefully these skills will empower you to do that. And you may buy a Victorian house that's a fixer-upper, and there's like a big hole in the window, and it's a circular window, and you're like, well, how am I going to solve this problem? Well, you got to start with the size of the hole that needs to be filled with stained glass. Ooh, forgot this little circle up here. That's good. Anyway, even when you like seemingly lose, oftentimes you really win. I think that that's what I'm going to declare my drawing a victory, even though it's not even a circle. I do love the idea of the, I do love the blue notes.
Just don't manufacture stained glass windows, or else your customers might receive their windows and be like, this doesn't fit my window.
Well, the guy that I was listening to, who's like, I guess like one of the premier designers in Boston, he was saying that, you know, he would, you know, offer the client a painting, a watercolor painting first, and then from that they would make decisions about whether they liked it or not. So I'm doing the watercolor. Watercolors and color pencils are pretty compatible. And watercolor pencils, I think, are fantastic. If you're going to paint watercolors, I would highly recommend having watercolors, watercolor crayons, watercolor pencils. Have all of them, because they all work together. All right, let's see. What else? What else? I'm having deja vu. Like I've had to solve this problem before. Yeah, having pictures go haywire and then having to continue them, get used to it. It's not, I mean, most of the time, I'd say 9 times out of 10 at this age, my art goes well. I'd say 9 times out of 10, which is like a staggeringly high rate of success. But you know, when it doesn't go well, you still have to paint. You still have to work. Like you can't just like quit. So I guess this is me. This is the universe, I think, humbling me slightly. I had a pretty successful class this morning, and I guess I should show you guys some of the videos. But once you have the drawing, you know, once you have all the lines in, you know, painting it is the fun part. If you can keep it, and if you've drawn it already, you should be able to keep that straight in your head pretty easily. Oh, here comes Stacy. And you know, each quadrant of mine is like such a different size that it almost feels like I'm painting different shapes. Hey, what's up, Stacy? Sorry.
Hi.
Were you waiting for a while?
No.
Okay, good.
No. It's all good. This is just incredible.
The other thing, everybody uses color pencils, and you know, they use everything except for paint because somehow they think like painting is like harder. It's not. Painting is easier. You can paint so much. You can cover so much more ground. You can add so many more colors faster when you have paint.
Trevor, can you hear me?
Yeah, what's up?
Okay, well, I'm just trying to get back to your screen.
Oh, you got closed out.
I just see an image of myself.
Brown. Show me brown. Want the almond. And that's what I love about color pencils is that they're really good like holding places for watercolor.
I'm going to say goodbye and,
There you are. I see.
oh, ah, yes, if I could take a couple of pictures, that would be so nice. It happened again.
Oh, this is a watercolor pencil? Get out of town. Is this a watercolor pencil too? All right. I just found this extra pencil that is a watercolor pencil. And since I don't have any yellow left in my paints,
There we go.
you're back.
Yes. So you you didn't know they were watercolor pencils. Wow.
I mean, I just have, so the interns, one of the things they did was they took all the color pencils and put them in like bins.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the sets that they were working with
Yeah.
were watercolor pencils, apparently.
Can I take a moment? Can I have everyone take just a few seconds so I can take a couple of pictures? I have to go and get my son, so unfortunately I can't hang out and complete this with everyone.
Well, that's sad.
Yes, it is. So, let's see, Mr. Messick. Let's see if I can get this to happen. All right, that's.
Did anybody use like really dark lines? Did anybody use like black pen, like Sharpie or anything for the outline?
No, I was gonna go over with that, but for one, my pencil lines ended up being a little too dark on their own. I didn't think the ink would stick to the paper.
I
And
know.
also,
I'm not sure either.
a little too small. I think it would kind of like cover up the rest of my drawing.
Yeah, I have this. I have a 0.8 black pen, and then I also have, I can't, and I'm not even sure which is which. So the 0.8 is definitely thicker, but is it strong enough? I think that one's strong enough. The question is whether it's strong enough to go over the graphite, or if I should just use Sharpie. This is a nice pen too. All right, so I'd have a Sharpie. Where'd my Sharpie go?
If anyone or everyone could send a pic to Mr. Twist, that would be wonderful. I am not able to do that from this phone that is just so lovely and wonderful. Also, Trevor, if Sebastian or anyone else joins the class, if you could just, make notation of that.
Yeah, sure, I will.
Okay, everybody. Trevor, thank you so much.
Yeah, give Morgan
And
my best.
sorry,
Give Morgan my best.
I shall. I'll see you guys next week. And Mr. Messick, I'm sure that in time, all of that stuff will work itself out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll see everybody soon.
I'm gonna go see if I can find my super thick Sharpie. Oh. All right, I've got it. So I'm gonna have the issue that I think, Braden, you said, like, this is a new Sharpie. So if I go up here, I think it can have a thin enough line. I'm hoping. And because the Sharpie is the Sharpie is what it is, it will put down enough pigment that will dominate the pencil marks. This one, the Artist Loft, and the Micron, and even this Sharpie tip was not doing it. So I may have to sacrifice the delicacy of my line, because I need the strength of the marker if I want to get these lines. So I'm just going to like hold it really light. And again, this could fail, but I mean, honestly, I've got like nothing to lose. Like, are you serious? Look at my drawing. Okay. I'm like trying to save this thing.
So if I were to try and go over my lines with like a Sharpie or a fine tip pen or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was gonna try and do watercolor pencils. Which should I do first, the Sharpie or the pencils?
Such a good question.
Watercolor.
So what I did is I did graphite first. Then I added some pigment. And when I was planning this out in my head, when I was planning out the lesson, I was going to do the Sharpie first. Because if you have Sharpie, I'm going to do it right up here. So say I have a circle, an inner circle, and then those 4 quadrants, and then who knows? Do a leaf here, a leaf here. The Sharpie, in theory, this is a color pencil. This is a watercolor pencil, and then direct. Hopefully it's dry, but let me do this like maybe like a purple. In theory, the Sharpie should stay put. Let me try red. Yeah, it looks shiny at the moment, but it's doing what it doesn't. It's permanent. I mean, it is a permanent marker. And the reason the lines are showing up in my own picture is because that permanent marker just dominates the pigment of the watercolor because it's so weak, and the metal it covered it the pigment of the Sharpie, the ink of it is so strong that it just like absorbs into the fibers of the paper, and even though there's metal there, it goes around the metal, and then the metal of the graphite isn't strong enough to drown out. It might be a little reflective in some areas, but it's just the ink of the Sharpie is so dominating. So really, I guess the answer is that you can go both ways. You can add colors first and then come in with the Sharpie on top, and the Sharpie will dominate, or you do the Sharpie first and then you put the colors on top, and the Sharpie will not be affected by the watercolor or the color pencils that go on top.
Yeah, interesting. Because my first instinct was to do the graphite, then the Sharpie, then the watercolor. But then I was thinking, I know usually it wouldn't happen, but especially with the graphite, it might make the surface a little more slick, so that with the watercolor, the Sharpie might slip off and smear.
Yes, and it's just the Sharpie is just like it's such a dominating chemical force, and I don't know if it's like because it has acetone in it. I don't know if it's because however they make it, it's stronger.
All right, thanks. That helps.
Sure. And why don't you just try it both ways? You know, like do the beginning with Sharpie and maybe like one leaf, and then and then color it, and then color the other one. I mean, honestly, this is like mine is not good. I'm not claiming mine is good, but it's becoming a little bit more presentable. It doesn't look like a total ball of garbage.
This.
And it's kind of making up so for like a lot of my issues. Like if my drawing was slightly off, I can like move it a little bit over. I can move it a little bit in. The Sharpie is so thick, that I almost don't even have to be exact. And it's changing the dynamic of the picture, but even on the outside, like where I just drew, you guys check this out. I'm drawing the outside line, which probably isn't the best order to do that, but you can just see that the Sharpie just like absorbs around the graphite, even the thickest graphite. I guess one of the traps could be that if you go over the graphite, twice, you know, the line is so thick on the first pass. If you do two and you're a little bit off, it can really drastically change. It just, I think the black Sharpie line, because of the nature of the pen, and this is a brand new pen. Watch this. So that's one line going over once. And then if I go over twice, it becomes really thick pretty soon. So I guess there's not that many problems with it, but it could definitely be one of them. Mm. And the second time over, if you're thinking about flames, or if you're thinking about buds, or if you're thinking about leaves, or you're thinking about blossoms, um, once the line's are already there and you've done it once or twice, berries, I think it's a little bit easier to think, to be more comfortable with your mark making after you've sketched it and then, solidified those lines with your pencil, and then going over, and then painting it, and then going over it a third time with the Sharpie. it. I was saying this to the other class, like as far as a colorist goes, I'm way better observing color in nature and then trying to match it. You basically match any color. You show me a leaf, I'll find the green. I'll know how to get there. I get there 3 different ways. When I'm inventing colors, just out of the blue, my color combinations are really bizarre. They're just really weird. So I've been practicing it, trying to come up with using color theory, and you're like, it's mostly warm with a few greens, or mostly greens with a few blues, whatever. Salvador Dali was famous for saying that he always kept a seashell on his palette, and he would use color combinations that he found from the seashell to paint things from his imagination. So even though he was coloring it artificially, he always had the influence of nature close by to help. So he wasn't actually going just completely out of his head. I still don't know what color I should make this background. Part of me likes the white. I might do a light gray, maybe a soft blue on the white chambers that haven't been filled in yet. And Braden, that's this is what most of it I painted and with while it was in the graphite phase, and now I'm coming back in after all of the pigment, all of the Sharpie is in there, and I can paint on top of the Sharpie. I'm wondering if it will absorb into the painting a little bit differently, or if the graphite, if the watercolors will actually cover up the lines of the Sharpie. And I am trying to not cover up the Sharpie. I know the Sharpie is dominant, and I think that once the pigment actually dries, I don't think it's going to be able to really cover up the Sharpie. We couldn't really cover it up even if we wanted to. But even still, I like the boldness of the Sharpie. And I even like this gray. It makes it so at least you can tell that everything has been, the whole 360 degrees, every square inch of the square millimeter of the circle has been filled in. I wonder if oh God, I can't believe I just did that. So when I'm normally painting, I have a schmuck on, and I have my painting pants and my painting shirt. This is not that. And I just took the brush and rubbed it on my chest. It's just instinctive. Hopefully it doesn't stain. It shouldn't. And you guys, this is a really complex design in a circle, and you just can't forget that the most fun is, I think the most fun is coloring. So half of me was like, we should have just painted. I should have just texted you the thing, and then we could have just colored it. But it's fun to know what makes it up. I do have another one, and it's smaller, and it should be easier, and it's an actual image. But let me know if you guys are over this one. It's amazing how nice the picture is when you know, when the lines are, when you have a good drawing, you just can't compare. There's this great Durer quote. I have the book here. I do have the book here. The spirit of what he's saying is that if you have a great drawing, you could paint it like garbage and it's still going to look good. If you have a bad drawing, no matter how well you paint it, your picture's not going to look good. Let me see if I can find it.
So
Now, obviously,
saying the painting stage is really dependent.
What's that?
He's saying the painting stage is really, really dependent on the sketching stage.
Yeah, he was saying like the proportions of the drawing, and he was also talking less about like this geometry, and he was talking more about the human figure. So like if you have like draw a human figure and like one arm is really long and the other arm is short, you could paint it like Michelangelo, and you're still gonna look at the painting and be like, "Yee, what happened to that guy?" You know what I mean? It's like the judgment is not on the paint quality; it's on the proportion of the figure. Let me see if I can find. Let me like just get the quote, and he's right. You know, but it's not like for every little maxim there's like an exception, and everything's got to be taken in context. This book is organized perfectly. It's in chronological order according to nationality. So it's like 14th century Italian, 16th century Germany. This is 16th century Germany is when Albrecht Dürer was. So 16th century is the 1500s. And that's it's always one less because the first century was like, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Like the first 100 years is the first century. So second century is like 120, 150, 130. So like if you get to the 19th century, you know, you've gone 1800 years plus. So that's that was always confusing to me. They're like 19th century should be the 1900s. It's like, no, it's the 1800s. Okay, so he is talking about a figure, and he goes, without proportion, no figure can ever be perfect, even though it's made with all possible diligence, meaning painted really well. If on the contrary, the figure has correct proportions or right measurement, it cannot be condemned by anyone, even though is executed quite simply. So you could just like dash it, throw the paint on, if the proportion's right, no one's going to be able to argue with it. And of course, he's talking about the human figure and proportions. The pressure, obviously the pressure that you put down is significant with, you know, any medium, but not with so much with the marker, but like I like leaned forward and I had this like really heavy mark on this part, and it, you know, that color because so much of the paper is covered up, it feels like a different color than all the rest, even though it's the same color, just more pigment. That's funny. Mhm. Mhm. Wow. All right, so Braden, oh, excuse me. Yeah, Braden. So you're saying this could this green, and I didn't do it this way because I switched the light green to dark green, but this dark green here, are you saying that this flows into this one?
No, I wasn't, but it looks like it could.
Yeah. That's freaking
And
out.
so does the top part look like it flows
Yeah,
up?
I think I understood what you were saying
Parts.
before, but like, do you see this one?
Well, I didn't see all those connections.
Yeah, I didn't
It's
either.
pretty cool.
The layering is just spectacular. So the other thing that you got to think about too is that if you think about like combination locks, let's see, not so much combination locks, but I'm just imagining if you were to have like, I guess the answer is, I guess a combination lock is fine. It's like, if you imagine it was three numbers, right? So you have like 35, 20, 10. Like that's your combination. You add one more number instead of three, you add four. Like the number of that, like the amount of complexity becomes like that much more intense. And I'm trying to think about, if you were to layer elements onto this picture, it just becomes, it just is, it's already incredibly complicated. It could be so much more complicated. Just adding one more layer of dimension, like almost like transparencies. Put another piece of transparency on top of this, and then, set up separate units. Get that. Let me find that blue.
My brain is already so overloaded. I don't even want to think about that.
I know. Well, that's the other wild thing is that you really only have like one quadrant. Like if you were to break this whole picture down into, four parts, if you solved one part, then just like tick that part, and then you could repeat it, four times. Then it's like only 1/4 of the work.
It kind of half occurred to me before. I don't know why it didn't like click, but it's one flower. It's just different petals.
No crap. I think you might be right. So this is like the center, and then you get, pollen.
Yep.
So it is. It's one flower.
I mean, that's my standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I'm looking at it.
And it's a symmetry. See, I see it as like two sets. So like I see this yellow set with the almonds, as the yellow into the almond, and then I see the red into the blue. So it's almost like there's one set that's on the top, that leads to the almond, and that's on like, not the north, south, east, west, but like the northeast, southeast, southwest, northwest, like the almond directions. And I'll just like put the brown in there. There's like the almond directions flowers, and then there's the blue buds, and the blue buds are in the cardinal direction. So it's like north, south, east, west. I see kind of two sets of flowers. Again, whether that's true or not, I have no idea.
You know, it would be
It
really
could be
cool
perceived in a couple different ways. What's that?
if you could draw this and then send it to a company that would manufacture compasses with this as a background.
It'd be beautiful. There's a part of me that wants to like oversimplify. So say I did this, like this blue frame. What if I just make all of the space between, make that just like cerulean blue sky? I could trade purple. I'll make the middle of these buds purple so that they're not confused. Yeah, I'll do it. So the middle of the buds are purple now, and then the background can be sky, which is actually gorgeous. It's like, it's almost like enough is enough. Like, let's give this thing some space to breathe. And in that respect, I could have made this inner part blue as well. I'm not going to do that. So I taught this these stained glass windows only once before. So you know how I teach. I mean, I choose content that I think is challenging and interesting, and then then we break it down together. So I'm trying to think, if I were to teach this again, I might even just teach it as like a coloring exercise. And then, what would happen if you were to like, if you were to just design your own, if you were to break it down into, these 8 units. So meaning like 4 quarters, and then out of those 4 quarters, the inner part has 4 quarters. I think there is a way to make art this way, and a structural framework that would be useful. Let me go back to my red with these berries. And who knows if they're berries? They could be like moon cycles. There is a level of intimacy that you get from drawing something that you don't necessarily get from simply coloring it, or just simply observing it. So, I mean, I'm glad we sketched it first. I'll never regret drawing anything.
I see what you mean with the Sharpie being dominant. And I'm really loving these bold lines.
Good. I pray that you worked. I mean, I worked really small. I mean, if you put my hand down, it's like
Mine might be
like fits in the palm. Fits in the palm of my hand. It's pretty small.
Mine might be even smaller, or maybe I just have very large hands. One of the two. Anyways, but I was gonna say, now that the Sharpie is drying, I see the graphite lines through the Sharpie.
Is it a problem?
I don't think so. It adds like
And are
another
you seeing it
dimension,
because
but it's also a little confusing to the brain. I'm not sure if I like
are you
it.
seeing it as a, is it because it's shinier? Or
I
because
can
it's just
distinctly
or-
see the gray, metallic gray through the black.
okay.
Anyways, I
And
haven't
well,
colored it
the
yet.
other
What
thing
would you
is
like to
that
see?
I think part of the like during the lesson I was encouraging heavy graphite lines, and had I not pushed the dark graphite lines, they may have been easier to, you know, if they were with lighter graphite lines, they would have been not as visible.
Looks good on the camera, I think.
Good. We'll finish these greens. How did that? They're not that different. Darken the inner green rim. Oh my goodness. Okay, it looks better now that it's larger. I feel like they're like siblings, but one got thrown down the stairs.
Slightly squished.
Yeah, I don't care. I mean, if you don't look at this one and you just look, if you just see the one that you did, the one that I did rather, it's still really cool looking. I'm gonna cut it out. I'm gonna cut out scissors. It looks like a medallion. It's kind of an interesting object. You know, when you can't, and it's not attached to the paper. I mean, it looks like an amulet. You ever seen like Indiana Jones? There's that. Let me see if I can find that. Oh, that was an ancient Egyptian one. Such a scary scene.
I think I know what you're talking about.
I think it's like an eagle with like an eye with like, I don't know if it's like Horus or something, but
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
so I think it was Indiana Jones and just not Last Crusade, not Temple of Doom, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Okay. Amulet from Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones. Oh my gosh. Okay, it's not the same, but it's definitely designed in a circle. I think this looks like the one. It's got some like random writing on it with a ruby in the middle, like the eye of the crane. I mean, it's just a movie, but ooh, that looks like it more. It's fun. part of my art fascination, I think, does have an aspect of Indiana Jones to it. You know, it's like if you find yourself in front of a treasure room and you like crack open the door and it hasn't been opened in like 600 years and it's filled with treasure, like I feel like you're going to want to know what you're looking at. You know, like you should have some experience with antiquity so at least you can, you know, name the gold pot that you're going to bring back. Same thing with precious stones. Well, I swear on the Holy Bible, I did not mean for this class to, or this lesson to last this entire time. It was way more complicated than I was expecting. Look at this one. That one's even freaky. I'm scared. I'm terrified of this one. This one might be a little bit easier.
That other one looks like a spider web.
Yeah. See, this one, in my opinion, has like a distinct set of flowers. Yeah, it starts with a circle, but then you have clear leaves, 3 leaves, and then, you know, the center, and then you have the arc. So the next one I wanted to do, we don't have time to do it, but I love this lotus. So this is like, you know, this is from like the little ancient Egyptian wing. And I love Egyptian art. I'm such a sucker for it. There's a scarab on the bottom, which we did draw. Did I have that one? This is the one that I taught the other day. So there's that one. And then there's that one that's like more like a butterfly. And by understanding that like you have the center, then you have the pollen, and then you have the petals, that one seemed like somewhat more manageable. I pulled out the big guns for this class, but turns out my brain's not that smart. But this one is great because at least you basically draw 3 buds. So you have a blossom and 2 buds, and then you place those all inside of a circle. So here you probably start with the circle and do the center blossom. I mean, and this is the lotus flower, which is as ancient as any artistic expression. Do any of you guys want to show what you got so far? So I can just have a look. And then we've got like 5 minutes left or whatever, 10 minutes maybe.
So I tried multiple times to, I don't know, get it.
Yeah.
But it ended up not working. So instead, I just drew how it made me feel, which was confused.
Wow. Well, luckily for your art classes, that doesn't happen very often. So I don't feel that bad. I was quite confused myself. Can I see some of your attempts? Are you cool with that? Because it's also helpful for me to see those.
I actually can't find them. I've lost them somehow.
It's probably not such a bad thing. Kai, how about you? You got any? Did you find this as challenging as the rest?
It went badly.
What's that?
It went badly.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. I am a... Ooh, Brayden. That looks good. That looks great, dude.
I got wobbly lines.
You gotta be happy with that. I see. I know what you mean. Like how you would want like a perfect circle or whatever. But still, that's more circular than mine. And then the creative aspect comes when you get to choose the colors, because you're kind of working from, investing in the drawing, but executing the color. Kai, can I see what you did anyway, even though it may have been a colossal fail? It's just the nature of making art. Some things come easy, some things are not. In my watercolors, though the color is kind of vibrant, they dry kind of shiny. I don't know what that's about. It's not a Crayola, but it's a comparable set, that you get at the cheap, in the cheap section of the art store. I hope this book has it in here. I have this book that has all these different stars in it. And like symbols for different animals, and I didn't realize that there's so many different stars that have so many different meanings. Whoa. Whoa. We'll warm up with some of these next week. There was a Star for Rejuvenation that I wanted to show you. I can't find it. I think it's in the other book. Anyway, I'll show you guys the Rejuvenation Star anyway. I think it goes I think it's on the board. Okay, yeah. All right, I'm gonna do it in orange and I'm gonna do it in blue. So the orange lines are the construction lines. So this star, there's like a bunch of different stars. There's like the 5-pointed star, there's a 6-pointed star. This one is called the Star of Rejuvenation. And I love it because it starts with a hashtag. That's how you get like the 2 sets of parallel lines. It's almost like a tic-tac-toe board. And then assuming that all these lines are the same size, you dip down in each middle section. And then it's just the outside lines. So the Star of Rejuvenation looks like this. And if you did this in watercolor ink, you would, of course, erase the orange construction lines. I'm just leaving them on there because it's color pencil. I think rejuvenation is usually a really positive. I forget to there's this metaphor, not a metaphor, but it's just like anecdote story of the lumberjack that goes to a new forest and he gets hired by this company and he, you know, chops down like 20 trees on his first day. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, dude. Like, no, like the most amount of trees anyone's ever cut down is like 10 and you like doubled it. And then the next day he cuts down like 18 trees and they're like, well, that's good. It's still amazing. You're still mind blowing. But like, yeah, you should try a little harder since you did 20 in the first day. You must not be working as hard. And the third day it's like 15, and then the fourth day it's like 7, and it's like the fifth day it's like 5, and they're like, what is your problem? Like, you came in so strong, like what the heck? And he's like, I don't know. I'm working just as hard as I always did. I'm working harder. I'm working harder than I did on my first day, and I still only cut down 5 trees. And somebody goes, did you sharpen your saw? Did you remember to sharpen your saw? He's like, no, I haven't sharpened my saw. So rejuvenation for me, in terms of art making and teaching, is it's about sharpening the saw. And a lot of times making art can be that process of sharpening the saw, especially when you're taking on a lot of work and a lot of intellectual pursuits that are, you know, kind of like more left brain, you know, math and science and reading and literature, all that stuff. And part of sharpening the saw can be making art in general, that rejuvenating like practice of stimulating your mind, but in a slightly different way than you're normally asked. Sometimes it's just rest, sometimes it's good food, sometimes it's you know, just going on a bike ride. Anyway, remember the lumberjack, especially for those of you that are like high producing people. Sharpen the saw and you'll be more productive in the end. All right, y'all. That's 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. I'm gonna let's see. Kaya, I'd love to see anything you did today, but you know, no pressure. Anything good?
Got you. I got you.
What's that?
I got you. Oh, look, look.
Are you freaking kidding me? I thought you said it didn't go good.
It didn't. I messed up. I missed a part. Like
Get
right
out
here.
of
It's
here.
only 3 of these.
Get out of here. Hold on a second. I gotta stop this share so I can take a picture.
It went bad.
She goes, it didn't go well. You're like my fiance. She's like, yeah, it was terrible. Yeah, as if. Okay, go back. I gotta take a picture. Stacy's not here to help, so I will never. All right, let's see. Yeah. And then Braden, you're next. Oh man, it's so pretty. I'm so glad you cut it out too. Yes, Kaya. Did you color yours at all, Mr. Messick? I'm gonna pin you, Mr. Messick, so I can so the sound waves don't just, you know, move the screen.
All right. There it is.
Dude, that is like a window that should go in a church. Thank you. All right. You guys are awesome. I appreciate the grumbling and I appreciate the effort. And I mostly appreciate the artwork. That was wonderful. Okay, cool. You give my life purpose. I'm excited. God bless everybody. I'll see you later.